Well, welcome everyone, and to all you on the internet. This is a hybrid event, so we're still kind of experimenting with these, but Hastings was very gracious in allowing us to use the space, and they have lots of great technology, and yeah, so that's welcome to the Urban Design Forum for this month, and just a little bit about the Civic Design Center. I'm going to give a quick intro on that. I'm going to try to do the Cumberland River and our waterways justice in a really rapid fire historic history section, and then I'm going to pass it over to Hixhaz, who you'll learn more about in a minute. But if you're not familiar with the Civic Design Center, our mission is to advocate for civic design visions and actionable change in communities to improve the quality of life for all. We do this through our 4 focus areas, which are education and advocacy, shaping healthy communities, mobility and land use, and reclaiming public space. And the work that we do is made possible from a large amount of sponsors, but these are our 3 main presenting sponsors: Amazon, Global Furniture, and Mars Pet Care. And a big shout out to Hastings too for allowing us to use this really. I think it's a great, very exciting space to be presenting in. So happy to be here with them. So we just celebrated our 20th anniversary at our annual luncheon. It was very exciting. We got to kind of relive our origin story and just think about the past 20 years that the Civic Design Center has been doing projects in Middle Tennessee and beyond. So with that, we had an opportunity to think about kind of the next 20 years. And so what we did is actually took what were the guiding principles of the Civic Design Center, the 10 principles of the plan in Nashville, and kind of revamped them, focusing on a few important areas that just maybe didn't have enough emphasis or things like that. And so the one I want to highlight today is this one. It's in our preservation category or pillar. And it's prioritized design that alleviates impact on the natural environment's natural sources. And there's a few strategies that are associated with each of these guiding principles. And so I would encourage you to go to our website and learn a lot more about all these pillars. If you want to scan this code online, or just go to this link if you have time to write it down or something like that. But it's really, we thought a lot about it. It was very exciting to kind of go through it and redo these. So we're really excited about this, and it's going to help guide our work, hopefully for the next 20 years, as I mentioned. So here's my turbo historic, and I know I'm not going to do it justice. There's a ton of really interesting history. I tried to kind of encapsulate as much as I could in this. So here we go. So as much as I could trace back, 1779, there was a few different Native American tribes that kind of utilized this area, and it was kind of shared resources amongst a few, and I can't remember all of them. Sioux and Cherokee, I think, were prominently noted, and there was a few others. And then in 1779, the settlers kind of began to arrive along the banks of the Cumberland, and they kind of settled on 8 different areas. One of them actually ended up being what we know today as Nashville. And then, so it kind of was established in 1784, and then officially incorporated in 1806. And there's some fun kind of artistic imagery about the kind of the growing, budding community of Nashville. In 1850, a steamboat arrived with a train. So this is kind of a kind of transformation of the use. You know, we're kind of switching over to railroads at this point, and so this was the first locomotive kind of arrived via river. So that's kind of interesting, and then started more dependence on the rail system. So then in 1859, there were at this point there were 72 major steamboat connections to major cities. So lots of imports and exports from Nashville, and by 1860 we were loading and unloading 1 million tons of cargo annually. Then in the Civil War time, it was eventually occupied by the Union Army and was used to basically serve as kind of a transportation hub for the Union Army to deliver supplies and resources to areas in the South. And then in 1892, we kind of switched to this electric car. So I kind of attribute this moment to like less transportation and focus more on our street grid. And this is an evolution of technology. We kind of have this electric movement at this era, which is kind of amazing to think about. We had electric streetcars. We were one of the early adopters of electric streetcars, side note there. And then in World War II, well, I guess in 1909, the Sparkman Bridge or Shelby Street Bridge or John Siegenthaler Bridge, however you know it as, that's what it's called today, and the pedestrian bridge, of that matter, was built. And then that was kind of surrounded forget the name of the company, the bridge company, then was kind of building ships along the Cumberland. So it became very industrial in the East Bank there. And then in, I think in '79, the Riverfront Park opened as this more public space, less kind of moving away from that industrial use into this more public open space asset for the community. And we start to orient more to the city. In 1996, the Rolling Mill Hill Plan kind of was released. So this is, people are moving towards the river, they're living on the river. I just thought this one was really interesting. In 97, the Downtown Partnership had this publication connecting with the invisible river. So kind of like that acknowledgement that we're not really addressing it. That was prevalent in the mid-90s. And then in 2000, the Cumberland River Greenway Master Plan really mapped out this, we're trying to utilize the river for transportation and recreation, and those bikeways and walkways were seen as something we really need to focus on and develop. In 99, the Titan Stadium opened. Then in 2005, the plan in Nashville was unveiled, and this was, for those who aren't familiar, a large community visioning process, hundreds of participants, but it started to kind of acknowledge this disconnect between the city and the river. And there were, this is, I think we love to point to this one, but it really kind of highlights that people were feeling that disconnection from, and the river being, or the interstate being one of those barriers to those connections. And so this was kind of this big comprehensive vision to guide the Civic Design Center in the future of the work that we do. And so there was some really bold imagery and very exciting, but a lot of it oriented to the river. In 2007, the Hargraves Riverfront Master Plan happened, and this kind of reinvigorated this conversation and got everyone to, kind of think and dream about what the river could work on. Then in 2010, there was this devastating flood, which I'm sure most of you or many of you are probably familiar with. But while it was devastating, but it was also an opportunity to look at the areas along the river and how we can reimagine them. And so then one of, I think a very celebrated park of Nashville, Cumberland Park, opened in 2012, not too long after the flood. And then that same year, we dove into this. The Civic Design Center launched a global design competition called Designing Action, where we asked people to submit really, I think they're really compelling ideas for the East Bank area between the interstate and Shelby. And so there was really some bold, exciting visions that came out of that. This one was really kind of dramatic with the addition of a river element. And then this was the winning competition. So really, I think it was really compelling, exciting, lots of press, and got people to think about what the East Bank could be. So then fast forward to 2015, Ascend opens. And then 2016, our next kind of big publication, Shaping Healthy Communities, started to look at some of these concepts about utilizing the river for transportation. There's these kind of boat kiosks, and I think Hixhaz will discuss a little bit more about that. And then we have an ongoing collaboration with the University of Tennessee. We host the Nashville Urban Design Studio every year, and they focus on areas all around Nashville and Middle Tennessee. And a lot of those projects really geared towards the river. And so these are a few, I'm really not gonna do it justice. I know TK is on the line here. So, but if you go to our website, civicdesigncenter.org/UTK, you can see all these projects This was the Newhoff site. There were some really interesting visions for there. This is one for a boathouse for the future wharf park. So there's been a lot of discussion about that. So that might be a fun one to explore. And then East Bank with the, I don't know if anyone attended the meeting this week, but this has been a project that the studio has focused a lot on. There's been a lot of really interesting ideas, but the vision or the planning department has basically unveiled some of these visioning efforts that I think are continuations of a lot of the work that we've done. And this was an image that was released on Tuesday. So I just thought that was kind of fun to throw in the mix. But there's a lot of ongoing development activity along the river and waterways in Middle Tennessee and Nashville in particular. This one's in River North, just north of that East Bank project. And then more recently announced the Riverside project off of Trinity Lane. So these really large scale, high impact developments are just some of the many projects that are going to happen along the Cumberland River and tributaries and waterways. And so it's really important, I think, that we lean into these guiding principles and make sure that we're being smart about development and thinking about some creative ideas and strategies for developing along the Cumberland and our waterways. So that was and I'm sure I missed a lot of historical elements, but that was my attempt to summarize some of the history along the Cumberland River. So now at this point, I want to introduce Hixhaz, who is an architect and urban planner with over 5 years of experience in private and public sector. She holds a master's degree in urban planning from Polytechnic University of Tirana. In the last 4 years, she has been part of a team involved in designing 7 general and local plans in Albania, 5 detailed local plans for special importance and national protected areas. During this time, she has lent herself to assist in designing the process on urban planning, which directly affects said communities in strategic ways. Her professional career reflects her passion in relationship between communities and planning. Hixhaz strongly believes in urban design, that urban design is the instrument for developing a sustainable local economy. More importantly, by working hand in hand in an inclusive manner enables for the voice to be heard and served with the community's best interests. So we're really excited to have Hixhaz here from Albania. She's coming to the end of our time with us. We're sad to lose her, but we're excited to unveil all the great work she's been working on over her internship here. So Hixhaz, if you'd want to come up here.
Thank you, Eric, for presenting me. So I'm from Tirana, Albania, small country in Europe, and I applied for an internship program like last year, and because of COVID, everything postponed. I applied at AADF, it's Albanian American Funding Development, and they work closely with students and young professionals. So this program was 6 months, and I came here in June. I can't believe it's almost time to go home. But yeah, I chose Civic Design Center as my fellowship program to be here because of their wonderful work and their mission. They have to work really closely with community. So I wanted to have this experience with them and to learn and have something to bring home in Albania. So I've been working for activating waterways. And as we know, Cumberland River and its creeks, it stands in over most of the territory of Nashville. As such, each district, neighborhood, or new development area creates a connection with the river, and our vision is closely to relate to the natural values that the river offers. For sure, natural dynamics make this river more attractive and creates interest in the further development. This project looks to evaluate the river and its water lines and get from them the best and vice versa. With small or large developments being faced to the river, we tend to reframe our relationship with water in Nashville, so we'll be less concerned about crossing it and more focused on embracing it. Next. So to go there, we need some strategic objectives. So our goals are improving quality of life for sure, with parks, public spaces, activity centers, connectivity, accessing with roads, bridges, bike trails, pedestrian paths, and green paths, water transit. For sure, it's really important to have an economic development, and doing that with new development and creation in new district areas. And for sure, environment awareness, so protecting and promoting, because it's not just for protecting the natural areas, but and to promote those. Next. And to do so, we need creating a hierarchy of activity centers that serve several destinations along the waterfront area, a mobility network of different ways to move in the city, with trails and green corridors that provide connectivity across the waterfronts, parks, public spaces, and into the neighborhoods. And of course, a system of landmarks, kiosks, art, coffee shops, because we want those amenities for the waterfront visitors to stay longer there. And really important, as we talked, was transportation. So we need a network system for everybody. And so we thought about creating these several stations along the river, and that those stations can serve several destinations along the waterfront. So our station is not just for stopping, but to start and enjoy what we have nearby. Our stations are like, we want to have there a micro mobility transportation station, have water taxis, canoe, kayak, bike, scooter that you can rent, and coffee shops, food, drinks, restrooms, and parking lots for sure. Our station we think about our station to have not just for go there and just grab your canoe, but even though for those that wants to learn something, you can go there and just try to learn how to canoe and grab your canoe or water taxi for one station, for example, from Riverfront Park to Shelby, and then you can grab a bike and see around and wander to your park. To have that, we need like some new developments and to have this connection and new recreations. So, for example, we have this area here near the TSU, Tennessee State University, and near the Dr. Walmart David Boulevard is a great area, 35 acres size. And next, when we go there, we don't even notice that we are near a river. So we thought about creating this connection from TSU and Boyd Park and connect to the river, Cumberland River. Next, so our master plan, we think about like having a lot of people can enjoy that, and a lot of different amenities we can have there. Next, for example, for sure, our micromobility transportation and creating a plaza. We're going to have our marinas, water features, playgrounds, parks, bar, restaurants, and even from the students to enjoy this part of the new development, but even for the communities and neighborhoods that are nearby. Next. So we have, for example, a plaza that is near Riverfront, is in United Kingdom, and you can see people loves to go there, and our idea is to bring community together and people to go there and enjoy that and stay there longer and have good activities there. Okay, next. We thought about having a local entrepreneur center. So how about the fact that Tennessee State University have an agriculture school there? We can have an urban agriculture park. So students can go there and practice, and for sure they can use this land to plant and these units around it to use for producing, or just even for sell those herbs or flowers or whatever they are trying to learn there. And for sure, other units can be local shops, commercial units, and for example, bank units or whatever our neighborhood needs. Next. This is an example in France. It's near development, and everybody loves that and brings community together. So it's not just for students, but it's for the community and to come here and just enjoy this part of the agriculture environment. Next. In the front row, we have mixed-use buildings and apartments buildings. Can be condos, the fact that we are really near the neighborhood, workspace, business centers, commercial buildings. And next, and our idea is to have these alleys that go down and you can see the river, because we're not noticing that we are really near the river. Next. Another part of the study is First Avenue, multimodal transit station. We started, Civic Design Center started seeing Second Avenue district with the Riverfront Park. So we thought about how about we can redesign the transit station next and create a new station that goes with the same flow as the new design that we have right now. Next. So our station is this, and you can you know it. And next, and we thought about creating these new features with bar, restaurants, multimodal transit station, water taxis, for sure, because we want to promote that. Next. So bar and restaurant can be really near the water and have their outdoor activity. Next. And have this beautiful view, and people from Broadway can go directly to the river and start enjoying this view. Next. Multimodal transit station, we have train and bus stations there. How about we have bike and scooter renting stations, or a place that you can just park your bike or your scooter. Next. And we thought about having these green roofs, and so in one station you can have it all, not just for bus and for train. Next. And nearby we're going to have our water taxi and canoe station, as we talked about, so people can enjoy everything in one place. And for sure, like try to transit for one like from the bus to the water taxi, and then from the water taxi to the bikes, and so on and so on. Next. So we thought about creating a system of paths that can connect waters and parks and neighborhoods. So now we're going to see a little bit of what about the creeks. This is a creek, Richland Creek. It's near Charlotte Pike and 54th Avenue. We have here England Park and then a beautiful golf course, but we don't have a connection. And the fact that Charlotte Pike, as you know, is a heavy road, how about we create that connection? Next. So we thought about creating this plaza near the Charlotte Pike, and then connecting this, but not just with a sidewalk, but how about we created it inside the creek? Because because we don't even notice that we have a beautiful view there, and we are not experiencing that. This plaza is located in near the Charlotte Pike, and we thought about creating this bridge that connects greenways with the plaza, and the businesses here can have their place to open their activities on outdoors, and this place can be for community events or any like other events that their neighborhood wants, or the businesses there needs. And having these activities, it's gonna help even the road go a little bit slowly, because having all those activities, like people tend to stop there. Next. So we thought about having organic forms that goes in and out of the creek and creates kind of a pocket parks inside. It's important to say that this land is private, but what we proposed is a distance like with 500 feet, and we tend to have our paths and our trails inside of the greenways. Next. So as you see at the sections, the structure plays in level because we want to experience it during all year. So we don't have to really like think about heavy rains or the seasons that we have a lot of flood. So we thought about that with these structures and sustainable structure. We thought about creating this level trails, and you can see you can go down to the trails with some stairs, or you can just walk there, and it's next. And this is a distance of like 0.5 miles, so you can just walk easily, and like really like helps to connect these two like wonderful like greenways. And for sure, we thought about creating this path with a structure, sustainable structure and materials that let greenery grow and doesn't bother the environment. Next. Another place is in Madison. So we thought about connecting a supermarket, a grocery store, Aldi, with a lock-to boat ramp because we have there a station. Next. As you see, we go down to the road and we can't even see the river, or we can't even touch the river. So this is like 10 to 12 minutes walking if we had a trail. So we started with sidewalks with a full line. We have sidewalks, and then we go down to the river, to the creek, and then we go again with sidewalks, and again with trails. And we meet not just even the creek, but even the river next. And this is just 10 to 12 minutes walking. So wouldn't that be cool to have this whole experience in 10 minutes walking? Next.
Is that what it looks like when you get there now? For those existing?
No, these are like proposing, like what we can see if we had these trails. Yeah. Like with small developments, we can go there to have that view. But we know we have seasonal streams. So how about those? We have Richland Creek, Gibson Creek, Pages Branch, Cooper Creek. So we know that we can't really like paddle in a whole week on them. How about we do something with them? Because they're in a lot of creeks, they are going like dry, they dry, or in some seasons they are dry, in some seasons they have a little bit of water. For example, at Pages Branch, you can see it's raining, like it's a season of a lot of rains and still doesn't have a lot of water. So how about we create, like we try to, it's necessary to periodically clean the streams, creeks from leaves and urban waste, as well as reframe the bed of the creek for a natural flow and water runoffs. And for sure to have a landscape, and our creeks can look like this. Even when they are dry in the season of like summer, they can be like beautiful, and you can walk there and you can really like, and even the dry beds can easily like let the rain or water runoffs flow like easy. So this is and this is like a park in the end of your backyard. You know, you don't even notice that you have a river or a creek there, but with these like small developments, we can really like embrace what we have nearby us. So thank you.
Okay, so those were all very exciting and inspirational ideas. And so we will be working to unveil a publication in the coming months. Yeah. Yeah, to basically summarize and give a little more detail on all these ideas, but we were, before Hixhaz goes back to Albania, we wanted a chance to kind of showcase a lot of these things. And so we hope that this is kind of inspirational and leads to people to kind of push for preservation and development, and especially as it relates to rivers and streams. So I guess at this point, we'll open it up to questions. And
these are all
yeah, so and yes, I guess we should make that clear that these are just kind of visions and potential opportunities to utilize waterways around.
right. I noticed the one out by TSU was quite a development.
Yeah, and I think just to respond to that right away is like that we tried to show that, you know, even with the, like, we're seeing a lot of these larger scale developments. So it's important that like there's strategies we can consider amongst many different community types, and it spans kind of all these types of things. And so down to the, you know, creeks that are, you know, only flowing at certain times a year, but up to, you know, all the way as large as expansive as the Cumberland River. So yeah, I guess if anyone has, I guess on, I saw a comment about I think it was Julie who mentioned the water taxi from years ago. And
I think that water taxi, one preservation issue would be.
oh, Gary, hold on one second. Nobody can hear you.
I know I think the water taxi idea is really intriguing. I went to Vancouver and they've got these tiny little water taxis that don't really cause a lot of wake, so that there's not this erosion problem. I could see like fast moving water taxis that are just meant to get you from downtown to Opryland cause, like, I think that was
a big problem.
Erosion
with those,
issues.
Erosion.
Yeah, but if you got these, you know, with north River North and East Bank and downtown, these like just little boats that could kind of take you across the river, and you could just imagine being downtown and then going up to River North or to Newhoff. It's just really kind of fun to think about, and probably would keep a lot of cars off the road from having to drive over there and get there. So it's just intrigued by that.
Yeah, a lot of those boats were large ocean going type vessels. Did you guys do any studies on timing of connecting all those points and how much more efficient that would be than land to really push this idea? This is what, you know, we want to help actually create on the river. And that's a big component, I think.
Yeah, we're thinking about like, so our ideas was like to show you like with small developments what we can do, and we can start, for example, with Richland Creek and then go to Gibson Creek, and these examples can adapt in many creeks or many ideas that we have. And for sure, if you have any ideas, we can consider those and put it in our publication that, you know.
We did a comparison of a few other cities and tried to like average out times. And we looked at the end to end on the Cumberland and looked at, I think we used the model from Chicago because I was familiar with that. I've taken it and I was like, okay, that's reasonable, I guess. And so I think it was an hour, like end to end with that speed. And that doesn't involve, you know, what time it takes to stop and all that stuff. So like, you know, we could, in the publication, I think we should probably explore that a little more, but we ballparked it at like an hour from one end of the proposed stops to the other end. So it, you know, you can imagine it might be like, you know, if you wanted to go from Donaldson to, I think, what was the first, like,
Marine Harbor.
Which was it?
Harbor.
Oh, the Harbor Marina, Rock Marina or whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty far.
Yeah, it's a good distance.
I remember in Shaping Healthy Communities book when we measured the distance from Shelby Bottoms to the TSU site. I think it was 9.5 miles. Maybe we were doing it that way.
You're 16 miles Rock Harbor to downtown.
Okay, and then if you got onto a greenway that could, you know, follow the river all the way back on a bicycle, you could get back to where you started from without having, you know,
Amazing. I think it changed the game for Nashville.
So all those points on the Cumberland River
Yeah, go back
map,
to the first map.
that are mapped, those are all proposed.
Proposal
access
for,
points, I
yeah,
guess.
for potential stops station. Yeah.
A station.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw, she had a slide in there that kind of, it looked at some other precedents, but she actually designed like, you know, how a canoe or a kayak might fit in, and there's like showers and like those
Six,
facilities that
seven
would
slide.
support the multimodal uses.
Right.
Yeah, so I guess this, I think we measured from, because I think Stones River might be a little more complicated. Peeler might be the last stop or something like that, and you know, it was an hour by.
That part of the park program, that's a little problematic accessing with a boat just because of like limbs and stuff that have fallen through. It's not-
Yeah, there, we took a little creative liberty with the station. You know, it's the, I guess this publication is ultimately just to inspire people to think about this as an actual idea, you know, put some
And
visuals to it.
where would the Inglewood access be? Is that where McGavick?
Yeah, we talked about that McGavick stop, yeah.
Yeah.
There's already at least a little infrastructure, ferry stop.
Yeah.
Was there also a ferry from Bell's Bend at one point
There-
across the?
There
river?
was,
Oh,
right there at Old.
That could be a really,
Police's
that could be a
ferry.
cool one.
Police's
Yeah.
ferry,
We didn't show that on there, but we could add that too for the.
And I guess one topic of conversation is really, I know that there's gonna be some motorized boats, but it seems like it's potential for limiting just massive amounts of motorized boats so that crew and, you know, kayaking and stand-up paddleboarding is not, you know,
Yeah.
there's accommodation for that, so it's not overwhelmed by one or the other.
My understanding is Wharf Park is going to address the human-powered boats, rowing shells, canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddle boards, and not necessarily cater to motorized boats.
Yeah, I think River North has like a marina in the image, and then that other, the new, the one they just put out on Trinity Lane has like one of those more, you know, probably those types of motorized boats would be there, but.
Are there questions on?
Joe, do we have any questions from the chat?
Did you have a question? Hold on one moment, I'm gonna bring you over.
Microphone.
There you go. Thank you. It wasn't so much a question. I had been into one of the East Bank design community meetings and it talked about water taxis there. My experience was thinking about the size of water taxis they have in Geneva, Switzerland, fairly small. But my question more had to do with, it's more of kind of a policy administrative than design question, is about incorporating transportation passes. I think, you know, making like, so that if you had a bus pass, that you would also be able to use water taxis with equal access and potentially train, should that ever happen as well. So that if you had a day or a monthly pass, you could go from one to the next without having to rebuy tickets. And then that's more of a metro transportation question, I think. But
We love those questions though. I think, I don't know if you've experienced WeGo's new quick ticket program, but it's like the app. They're integrating it with the STAR, the commuter rail. So they're starting to like bridge those gaps between, you know, ticket types. And so I would imagine that Metro would operate a water taxi, you know, like it could be a service provided by WeGo, I guess, since or I guess it might be RTA even, which, yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think about that and like how I think that was one of so we helped run a lot of the Second Avenue meetings, and that was people were really excited about the idea of a water taxi that, you know, kind of landed on West Bank. And how it integrated with Broadway and downtown and all that. And so I think that's a great opportunity for this like multimodal nexus. I mean, we already have the STAR, we have the commuter rail, and then like there's already some buses that link in there. So what if we added this, you know, you could kayak, you could boat, you could take a water taxi, you could then go take the train or bus or walk downtown. You know, it's like kind of this really, I mean, it's super central and has all these modes kind of coming together. And that was some of the ideas that Hixhaz was experimenting with those like bike stations at Riverfront Station and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty exciting to think about.
So Hixhaz, did you, in your final publication, could you give us like a sneak peek of like what it's going to be like? Do you focus on every one of these locations?
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna have some ideas for any location.
Okay.
And just to know that, okay, we're having this station, but it's just for stopping there, or we can just like go and wander around those and what can we find near them. So with our station, it's gonna be a lot of like network, like trails and pedestrians paths or bicycle paths, or we can do, we're gonna have a full map of networks that buses, train, bike stations that we can have there. And so everybody can be connected, so we can really like enjoy everything together. We don't want any station to be just for a stopping. We want to start there.
To know what you can do.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you on, and thanks. Oh, I should say too, TK, I know you're on the line, but we wanted to incorporate a lot of those student projects into these because they've actually focused on some of these locations. So we'll be in touch.
It was really, I mean, the image that you showed that the city did with the East Bank,
Yeah,
it's really impressive to see that the football stadium is embracing not having all that parking around it. I'm like,
yes. Yeah, and I tried to kind of capture a lot of the work that the Civic Design Center has done over the years, and I think it's informed a lot of the kind of visuals and things that are coming.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That to have a facility like that be willing to, allow their parking to be rethought. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
So these are suggestions that Civic Design Center is coming up with. Who are they presented to that can actually make them happen?
Yeah, well, I'll just use another example that I think was, we did this with the UT students probably about a decade ago now for the boathouse idea. And that the community of rowing and boating and stand-up paddleboarding and kayaking just got behind it and then kind of took it and ran with it because it was a really passion project. And so now we're just starting to see that kind of come to fruition.
I can tell you the rowing club is very much.
I'm so excited about that because I think that's a really good way to frame this. Is this kind of puts this out there, and we can, I hope, get more ideas. Add to it, release it as a publication, get people excited about it, and then the community can become advocates for it through departments of the city that are already doing these types of things.
Yeah,
and,
I think the Wharf Park is kind of the perfect example that, they, that's Metro Parks, but they also are aware of the interest in things like the rowing club that, has been looking for a home on the river.
What's next with that? When's that gonna?
I'm sorry?
Wharf Park, when is that gonna start? I know that talking about it for a while.
I don't know for sure, but I hear that it's not that far out. I mean, they've got a lot of ground preparation to do. And I think even before that, there's some issues that they have to clean up out there.
Yeah.
So I think I'm told we'll see it.
There's been a few community meetings. I don't know if you've attended or heard about those, but they're and the mayor made it a priority in recent, it's not technically budget season yet, but we'll kind of see that come out, I think, in this.
It's under the plan is underway, the design is early schematic stage, but it's a high priority design project. It's like a nationally known landscape architecture firm that's working locally here.
And maybe we should say Hastings did some of the modeling for the boathouse, probably kind of the next iteration of it. So nice synergy there.
And so if you all want to learn more or see some of the other projects in a little bit more depth on our blog, you can find all of that information. There's several East Bank blog posts and publications that you can look through. And if you want to just be able to search something quickly, you can go to the bottom, like the footer of our website, and you can search a keyword and you'll be able to find it easily. And so that's a really helpful resource, especially things that have happened, you know, anywhere from 6 to 10 years ago to 15 years ago, things that we've been talking about for a really long time, and how to bring that back up is always the question, to see how, you know, if people are truly still interested in it years later. So yeah, I encourage you to do that. And we, as Eric said, we just started our new guiding principles, so you can take a poster on your way out and read more about that. And we're going to try to get some more engagement around the guiding principles in the early next year. So stay tuned.
Yeah, well, thanks you all for joining us, and thanks everyone.
Bye.